Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I have a message on this occasion of Olympics 2024, which are currently being held in Paris, France. Sports epitomize human courage. They demonstrate determination, focus, discipline, the will to win, and the coordination of physical strength with mental strength. Aside from enthralling crowds, players, when they win, they take away medals and joy for themselves, their families, friends, and the countries they represent. And when they cannot win, they have the opportunity to demonstrate the true spirit of sports, which is to acknowledge their opponents. Noticeably, Muslims are not very well represented or present at these Olympics or other games. Just like they are not at the forefront of scientific and technological discovery and innovation and other disciplines. And there are perhaps profound reasons. Citing from my book, The Perfect Human, which is published by the Perfect Human Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam Foundation, the purpose of which is to encourage Muslims to pursue advanced knowledge and education at all levels and learn from the golden principles of the Quran and the life of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This book and the Urdu translation, Bashar-e-Kamil, it has many events describing the Prophet's life and at least 2 of the 100 human attributes which I have described, which show the Prophet's emphasis on sports and fitness. Everyone knows the first revelation of the Quran were descended upon the Prophet in the cave Hira on top of a mountain outside Mecca. Allah could have revealed these verses at anywhere, anytime, and which later happened. But for his first revelation, he chose the peak of a mountain which the Prophet hiked, and it happened to Moses too at Mount Sinai. And so it establishes maybe an indirect connection with sports, which in this case is the Prophet liked to hike. And he also liked to walk. When the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Zaid ibn Haritha Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu walked from Mecca to Taif, they did not travel on the back of a camel or a horse. And there were 2 reasons for that. The first was the Prophet's household was so poor at that time that he could not afford such a thing. And secondly, he wanted to convey to the people of Taif, the onlookers and the elites he was going to meet, that he meant humbleness and not show any elitism or a pride by going on the back of a horse. And then there was a journey back to home, another 40 miles. Each way it took 5 days. And how they handled the difficulties of the journey, including sleeping, it is only a matter of our imagination. Later on, after he migrated to Medina, when the Prophet was in his mid-50s, he was traveling with his wife Aisha Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anha, and the Prophet liked to run, and he ran fast. He was fit and slim and had muscular body and no stomach. This is unlike flat stomach. This was unlike most of our mullahs who have big stomachs and their appearance are strange, which I'm not even sure if they resemble the Prophet's appearance. But why don't they demonstrate this sunnah of the Prophet, which is running competition with their wives? And the Prophet challenged Aisha if she could run a race with him. And Aisha Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anha was slim and she was a fast runner. So this was not an ordinary competition. So they ran, and Aisha won the competition. And the Prophet ﷺ, in his sporting spirit, he said, "Congratulations." But he did not forget it. He wanted to win. So a year later, they were traveling again in a caravan, and this time the Prophet challenged Aisha again. He said, "Aisha, do you want to run again?" And she, her vivid personality, very cheerful personality, and she deeply loved her husband, and she would sometimes use blunt words which nobody else dare say to the Prophet. She said, "You want to lose again?" And the Prophet said, "Well, let's run, let the competition decide." So they ran again, and this time the Prophet ﷺ won the battle, the contest. And he did not forget the score. So he said, "This win cancels your previous win." So the score is equal. Don't forget the score, which is part of sports. When the Prophet ﷺ was like 5 years old, he traveled with his mother Amina Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anha to her relatives from her maternal side. And they went to a town near Medina. And the house had boys and children, boys and girls of his age, so he enjoyed the fun there. They also had a swimming pool, and his mother taught him swimming, which he enjoyed very much. Although later on in his life he didn't have many opportunities to swim, but he knew swimming from learning from the childhood. On other occasions, he advised Muslims to teach children horseback riding and arrow shooting, which actually builds up good muscles. And then on another occasion, it is reported that he watched a javelin throwing competition or some kind of skills with Aisha Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anha on his side. There is an authentic hadith also by the Prophet in which he said, "A stronger pious believer is better than a weaker pious believer, but both are good." Now, moving on to the Olympics. Pakistan has had a few medals in the past, and one of the lesser known medals is a bronze medal in wrestling, which was won in 1960 in Olympics, which were held in Rome, Italy. And this was won by a gentleman named Bashir, aka Bashira Dhobi, who hailed from the interior city of Lahore, where I also come from. And he was much older than us, of our father's generation, and we saw him, and he was a gentleman and not bragging, but he was financially not very rich but well off, but he did not brag, although he would tell his stories, which I believe were true. And once he was telling this story to friends or acquaintances around him standing on a street, and he described how he was going to compete in a wrestling match when he was stopped by a Western woman. So you know how Western women treat players. They think they are celebrities, and they try to make some kind of communication or establish some kind of friendship or whatever. So as Bashira is going to start the competition match, she says, "Hello, Bashira." And now Bashira gives her an answer which is very short, but it is deeply profound. And I think it needs some analysis. And so I will switch to Urdu to say the exact words he said, and then I will revert to English. So to describe the meaning and do some analysis. So here it goes. So she's going, and the woman says, "Hello, Bashira." And Bashira says, "Kushti tane ke baad." In English, it means after winning the wrestling match. Now, only 4 words. Kushti tane ke baad. 4 words, but they carry deep meaning. First, he wasn't rude or impolite, so he switched to Urdu to convey that he means more civilized, although I doubt if the women understood it, but that's beside the point. Secondly, he didn't say no. Thirdly, he gave her the priority, told her what the priority was, which is the match first. Now, he didn't say after the match, he said after winning the match, which shows his true thinking is very positive. In his mind, he's a winner. Now, that's very important. So, in 4 words, he's saying so many things. And the words sound so good. Kushti tane ke baad. So, it became at least my inspirational sort of statement. So, I started using the word Kushti tane ke baad very frequently. For example, at UET, if some friends said, Ishfaq, should we go have a tea? I would say, Kushti tane ke baad. So these 4 words became quite common, thanks to Mr. Bashira. Now, moving on to the present time. Imagine Pakistani team goes to England or Australia, and one of our cricket player is stopped by a Western woman and who says, "Hello, Papu." What do you think Papu is gonna say? I think I know the answer. He's gonna say, "Match harne se pehle." So these are deep words which need some analysis, you know. So, so with that, I would say thank you very much for listening, and may Allah bless you all. Now, about that smile, that kind of smile, my wife doesn't like it. So I better run away quickly.